Hello everyone. Oh, let's sort that audio out. There we are. Sounds like Sega music now. I rarely, if ever, play copyrighted music just because, you know, I don't even get any money for them. It feels frustrating when you get that notice. But anyways, yes, so last time we got, where did we get to? We got to the core of the machine, I think. And now we're in the final stretch of the game. How's my audio, by the way? Hey, Bubble Boy. Oh, just a heads up for people who are watching these. They're going to be unlisted, but they're going to be available in a playlist at the bottom of the channel. I've already made a community post about it, but in case you've missed that. So, they will be viewable on the main page while they're streaming, and then afterwards you'll have to go to a playlist. Just because they clutter up the page, and they're more of a niche, fun item. Audio seems good? Brilliant. Alright. Yes, so we were exploded out of the core. And that seems to have been that. And now we've appeared here, although it's a little bit curious because I don't see where exactly we could have come from. I guess maybe he sidled through there, but that's not a place we can go. What's down here? Oh, that's interesting. Hang on a sec. So this is a dead end. I do recall coming through here and seeing these fall, but that was at a different place. Am I mistaken? Anyways. In the latter parts of this game, I believe it goes into almost like a stream of consciousness thing, where there isn't necessarily continuity between the places you go, and it's not entirely clear what's real. Which is a tad frustrating. August 31st, 1899. Children really are the most wonderful, useful creatures. The unfortunates, from the orphanage have proved indispensable in cleaning the larger steam pipes. It appears that matter from the slaughtering process may indeed vaporize at source, but drifts like dust through the air and lodges in the pipes, causing them to foul. Periodically, we shut the pressure down and send one of our pixies into the pipes to scrub the reconstituted fat away. Armed with just a shortened broom, our little explorers venture into the dark. Of course, we can only keep pressure down for a short period, so they must be fast, or they risk being trapped and boiled by the superheated vapors when they rush back into the system. Then we will be sending their comrades in afterwards to scrape free the cooling mess. The survivors tell me you can reach all manner of places within the complex through the pipes. I smile, tell them I am so proud, and then feed them to the pigs. Lovely. It does kind of, it kind of recontextualizes his character. He seems to be characterizing what he's doing as some kind of, I don't know, philanthropic project, but at the same time, he has absolutely no problem with just slaughtering tons and tons of the innocent people he supposedly is doing this for. And he treats their lives as entirely fungible and unimportant. Alright, what the hell am I looking at here? So we have a console, a bunch of buttons I cannot press. What is here? That was dramatic. Are there other... Oh. Anything else? This looks like some...
What are you doing, little piggy? Do you think I will allow you to sabotage me again? I want my children, you unholy bastard!
So I think he's still in denial, because he seems to think that he can get his children back. Although, Although clearly they are not alive anymore. Alright. I see. So that can't be where I came from. I must have come from down the stair. Down the ladder, rather. Alright, here we go. I feel like this game simply shouldn't have been called Amnesia, because then I could appreciate it a lot more.
Hurt them. A cleansing fire always burns, little Mandus, but it purifies and it makes anew. Did it hurt to carve out the fevered flesh? Did it hurt to cut free the gangrenous foot? Ask instead this. Can we save them?
When did I say that? That is not me. That is not me.
Oh. Why am I still in, That's strange. I appear to still be in cutscene vision. Oh no. Did the game glitch? What on earth? Or maybe I'm just going insane right now. Maybe that's what's happening. Oh, I think I'm going insane right now. Ah, okay, that makes sense. What the hell? Thank you for the literature, I guess. This is... Sorry, there is a spoon of medicine, I says, and it's a silver spoon, what you did get born holding, ever so painful for mummy dear, but grasped so hard it was in a little screaming red fist. Later you used your spoon to dig a hole in the garden to get all the way to Mexico, and then you did eat worms with your spoon on the way to stay fat. This spoon was the same you gave your twins, then you used it to dig a hole in their clockwork, into their clockwork souls, and you ate up their hearts like soup on the way to keep you fat. Fat little mole, where will you dig next? I asks. You and your little silver spoon made from the silver spine of your children and wrapped in the hair of your dearly departed. Dear sweet Jesus, my darling Lilibeth, what am I become? Oh, that's good job, guys. That's gonna win the high school poetry contest for sure. Well, that was a thing. Danger. Ensure conduits are correctly placed to avoid pressure backdrafts. Child fatalities this month. That is an upside down... That's either a 17 or upside down 21. Warning, steam vent access only at low pressure. I see, so I need to lower the pressure so I can get into the vents. It's all coming together. I do love these environments, though. Like, this is... Hey, stop that. Really? You're so close, you can't get through that steam? I like these environments, it's just... It seems like they were trying to... It seems like they bit off more than they could chew, and they were trying to, rushedly conclude the plot. Here we are. They don't really make these like they used to, do they? What if I do this? Wait. Hey, stop that. I'm trying to pick this up. Stop it. What if I just, like... Oh. No, I can't do that? Alright. I got that one. So those two. There's this. Still doesn't open. Excuse me. I'm still a little bit sick, so I might be a bit low energy today. But I will. Oh, right. Here we go. The steam's open. Brilliant. Oh. What? Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Ah! Ah! am I going? Where am I ladder! Woohoo! Oh, those are big boys. Those are not. Those are bigger than the other ones. Wait, did they chase me in here? I can't remember. Ow. That noise.
This is your doing, Landis. This is what you dreamt it to be.
I will stop you. I will save them.
You are too late. It begins. My work has begun. Kill them, my piggies. Kill them all.
There's still pigs back there? I don't see any. Alright, I guess we're taking the elevator up. Tomorrow I've got 2 streams planned. I don't know if I'm gonna do both of them tomorrow, but I am gonna do one on the I'm gonna cover the What If Altists video on the trends of the 21st century, which is abysmal, but like hilariously abysmal, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then afterwards, I've been actually thinking about going through one of Jordan Peterson's lectures because they're sort of interesting from like a political analysis perspective. Like, interestingly bad. Like, there's a lot exemplified there that is like a great example of what not to do when you're doing political science. And he even talks about how he was originally motivated to get into psychology because he thought it was more apt than political science to do the kind of study that he was doing, which is laughable, but... I used to have a lot of generosity. Ooh. See, Amnesia 1, they did something very different. When you saw a monster, it moved in such a way as you thought it was in the game to kill you in that moment. See, that running by, that's good storytelling if this wasn't Amnesia. But it tells me it's a cutscene. It tells me that I'm safe. And I think that's really a mistake from a design perspective. Because so much of this game is telegraphing that there is just story happening and I am not in danger.
Oh God, no, what have I done?
Landis, I know you are out here. I own this city. I am this city.
No! This is not what I meant! This is not what I meant at all!
Redeem yourselves. Redemption is at hand. Enter the cleansing and set your souls free. For you are born into filth and will die as pigs. Only through my redemption can you ascend to the skies and claim the heavens as your kingdom. Fall on your knees. Ashes, ashes, bones and ashes. For the pile will reach critical, and we will have such a
Who shut the door?
but this city will shine as a beacon of redemption for the world!
Alright, still can't get through there. Looks like that way's shut. Is that open now? go back down here? Looks that way. Let's stop to read a letter. No one misses the poor. Round up some orphans, and the world will thank you for it. Disappear a whore, and a gentleman applauds you. Call a beggar, and a lady walks safely again. I hate them more than any of the others. This privilege, this pretension, these so-called leaders, these pillars of society, these rich and fanciful. They wear their filth on the inside, but they are no less dirty. I have plans for them all. We will feed them, and then we will feed from them. Who's writing that? And this is like a... This is a poorhouse with a lot of books. So I think... I have a suspicion that this is either past tense and is a representation of something that's already occurred, or... Because again, like, we took one elevator up. Or... this is all taking place within his mind. Well, I guess that those aren't contradictory, but, like, it's not a thing that has already taken place. Like, it's perspective. It's like a... It's like... Get away from me, Pinocchio. It's like Scrooge being shown his death. Can I open that again? Nope. Alright, I guess we follow the butterflies. Alright, where do we go? Okay, so kids ran out. Where did they go? Where did they go? There's a car here, but no battery. There's a car here. Oh, does this truck have a battery? Maybe I have to find a battery. Maybe crawl past this. No. Okay. And look, there's no crank on this one. Aha! I stand and look at myself in the mirror. I'm not reading this. Vain fool, are you really so different? Do you genuinely believe your works of evil are any greater than the rest of them? You are simply a weak man, a product of his age, the same as any other. This is Empire Cretan, this is the killing idiocy, the natural result of this social Darwinism. If you are evil, then this world is evil. You just let the blood run in the street rather than hiding it in the poorhouse. You hold the blade and slide it home yourself. You do not pay a man to do this for you where you cannot see it. If you are evil, at least yours is an honest evil, and that alone makes you Ubermensch. And thus I wash my hands and take to bed. Okay. Thank you for recording that. Oh my god, really? Just a circle? What is this? I'm hearing explosions, but it doesn't sound like...
Do you hear me, Mandus? This is what you planned.
I'm hearing explosions, but what are the explosions from?
children? Where are my children?
Missing vein, I see this now. I must find them. Those scrolls, those old words written upon metal rods that glow in the half-light, the dusk. This gloaming. Oh, weird. So I guess there's, like, nuclear power or something? Is that the implication? Nice fake Schubert music. It's actually by Jessica Curry. That's one thing the Chinese... What the hell? Stop him, stop him, stop him, stop him. Okay. The composer for the Chinese room games is very good. I think that's 90% of their appeal is the music. What does that say? The Iron Butler. Where does this go? I see more light. Interesting. I see, so we can electrocharge. Pig down there. Okay. So I suppose compound X and naked flames, no windshield electrics. Okay.
Well, will they be free?
Yes, my friend. Drained and bled and freed from the prison of the flesh. Free to ascend as smoke to the stars.
And the good? The worthy? How will we save them?
Show me these worthy, Mandus. Show me these good. I do not see them.
So was like the philanthropic goal, was that just a facade? Then upstairs to bed to toss and turn on bloated stomachs, to copulate and puke upon chase lung. Four-poster dressing table, collapse at last into the engulfing mattress, drunk and drugged and fat and stupid and senseless, and spring the trap, man piggies, spring the trap. At a pull of a lever, a set of hydraulic pistons and gears are fired, resulting in 3 walls of steel bars dropping from the ceiling via the canopy to cage the product into the bed, preventing escape. The entire bed is then tilted backwards into the wall by a powerful spring mechanism, also fed by the hydraulics. The pressure for this system is created as a byproduct of the vacuum evisceration system employed for mass production elsewhere on the pig line. In this way, we have created our very own bottled revolution, for the movement of the masses is a causal factor in the extermination of the rich. See, this is an example of bad praxis. Okay. What the hell? Oh, gears. Oh, I see. I need to throw something in there, don't I? Alright, I can do that. Pick that guy up. And we go. Oh, I wonder if that jar... Aha! I think I know what went on. So I think that jar fell down from that holder in the ceiling, and now I have to aim the electric ray thing. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Down at it in order to electrocute the pig. Ah, yes, I was correct. Brilliant. So that... Yeah, so it poured it all down. And then... Oh, is this powered off? Hang on. That... should be... Oops. Alright, now the electricity's down, so we can safely jump in ourselves. Oh, let's go look at this guy. Is that bone? This guy has a bone sticking out of his arm. That's not good. I'm just pushing buttons. I don't know what's going on. Really? Do I have to do each one of these individually? Oh. Am I... No, I don't touch that anymore. Okay, good. Good, I don't.
I know you, machine. I know what you fear. I will rain excrement into your very soul. I will destroy you.
You are too low, Commanders. My great works are almost begun.
Someone thought that was a good line. I'll rain excrement into your soul. And waste not, want not, for here the assorted slop and innards are sifted and sorted and enter the world through more channels and means than one could possibly conceive. The product passes by this section of the engine and is driven through the blade, splitting it into two sections ready for the butcher's block. And in the interim it is kept in our freezer bags under the house. Freezer bays under the house. And the heat produced naturally by the refrigeration process feeds into the pipes and crannies of these rooms, and is the very reason, my dear friend, that we can sit here in shirts and waistcoats but no jackets on a freezing winter's night without a fire in the grate, and discuss our great enterprise. The warmth in our bellies and toes may be attributed directly to those bellies and toes even now passing through steam, fire, and blade under our feet. Alright. A tripery. I hear rain, but we are not where rain should be. Oh, that's lovely. That is blood. Walking away from those temples, that small pile of stones under the rhododendrons, the skulls of innocents under the loose clod, headless rib cages in the cool stone behind the altars, 3,000 miles apart. I trace back my life to this instance, rain channels eroded in ancient stone. The toxins are already in this damp, this falling water. I hack and retch and vomit into the sink and grasp the bowl with both hands and stare. There in the plug hole, it's clear as day, a toy spine, clockwork and intricate like a child's spine, but clockwork. How could that be? How could a child's spine be made like clockwork? I washed it carefully and placed it on the mantelpiece. By the egg I laid myself under the garden where the children's skulls are buried, and I call it my Mexico. I wonder if he intended to use the orb to because, like, here's the thing. If you have a purely mechanistic theory of mind, and you have a magical soul-capturing orb then maybe you think that you can use technology to reconstruct a dead person. You know? We are the pig. We are all the pig. Just the one, apparently. There's a book, I can't remember if it postdates or predates Hobbes' Leviathan. Hobbes, of course, talks about the human soul and the human being as being a series of springs and strings and whatnot, like clockwork.
Towards the red light of the nursery, sunset in the window like a bleeding sky, the horizon a slit throat, the seeping dark to drain the guilt from us. I am the jaguar-faced man.
The jaguar.
I am the feathered serpent. This priesthood is mine.
It's called a jaguar, not a jaguar. And as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, there's a book called L'Homme Machine. I can't remember the name of the author. I think it might postdate Hobbes by a bit, but I could be wrong. That's a pretty convincing blood effect, actually. Okay, what's down further this way? Interesting. What is he eating? Oh, that's a person. So, having played Amnesia Rebirth, here's my thoughts on this. So, Vitae is extracted from human misery, right? From human suffering and terror. The ghouls in Amnesia Rebirth are revealed to be sort of like the equivalent in Alexander's world of the Gatherers. And their job is to, like, they're given this serum, or this something that transforms them into these ghoul-like creatures. And their job is to gather victims and to torture them to extract their vitae. And we learn in Amnesia Rebirth and in Amnesia The Dark Descent that vitae is used to fuel things like the Traveler's Locket. The Traveler's Locket is, of course, the device that's mentioned in Amnesia 1 as the smaller version of the portal that Brennenberg is trying to make. And you actually get a Traveler's Locket in Amnesia Rebirth where you can travel through portals to get to different worlds. Here's what I think is happening. The pigs are vitae gatherers, and the idea is they can somehow use the orb and an extremely large amount of vitae in order to somehow shift the course of the future. I think here... Oh my god, stop talking, man. Nobody cares.
How marvelous. I must say, Mr. Manders, my excitement is almost unseemly.
Yes, I can see that. Step this way, Professor. I will be right behind you.
Manders? Manders, where the devil are you? I can't see a damn thing. Manders!
We are the pig, Professor. We are all the pig.
Anyways, as I was saying, I think there's a really good anime called The Vision of Escaflowne, and in it, this is a spoiler, by the way, for Escaflowne if you're interested in watching it. The villain is, or the main villain rather, is basically the reincarnation of Isaac Newton in the isekai world in Gaia in the Escaflowne series. And for some reason, he has determined that fortune and luck are actually like a natural force like gravity. And so he builds these massive machines to try and manipulate fortune, right? And I think that's sort of what's going on here. They're attempting to use a massive amount of dimension-ripping vitae to somehow change the course of the future on Earth to offset World War I. Or something like that, if that makes sense. Which is interesting, they just don't really make apparent what it is they're trying to do. So that would be the purpose to this. Because clearly, the purpose to this is not to save individuals, because we're looking at them right now. And the purpose is not to produce food, or to, like, offset scarcity, even though they seem to talk like that's their goal. because, of course, the pigs themselves are let loose to actually feed on the poor. It's actually a pretty cool effect. They did a really good job of this. I think this one's still rendering, though. It's a little bit too smooth. Yes, we've already seen that trick.
I climb in stillness now. Blue water runs in my veins, now I am keen. I carry the knife of this factory, the bowl of this mill. I am come to collect you from your fields and your furnaces. I will gather you into the white clouds. I will gather you to me, and I will take you home.
Oh, lovely. An island of congealed blood. That apparently absorbs light by the look of it. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for that. And fade to black.
Hear me, Mandus. My gears are adjust. My steam is built. Soon I will spill that blue water and split the egg, the atom, my soul, and there will be a very great burning that we might make the world clean. Be proud, for this is your doing. Until you steeped me in the blood of your own, I was nothing but rotten architecture. You have made me, and I will make the world anew.
So I think what happened was the power of the orb gave him a vision of the future. And then in a panic, he killed his children. And then the blood from his children got onto the orb, and that's the Vitae activated the... gave the orb a mind or something. If you should find this, then you already know all I would tell you. You already know what you have done, what you must do, walking away from those temples, that small pile of stones beneath the rhododendrons, the skulls of innocents under the loose clod, headless rib cages cruelly torn asunder to expose their flowers, and the cool stone behind the altars 3,000 miles away. I trace my life to this instant, rain channels eroded in ancient stone. This is a repeat of a previous thing. The toxins are already in this damp, this falling water, and in that instant, cradling my children's heads in my palms, I knew then I had to unbuild what I myself had constructed. Though even then it was little more than a sickening dream. This machine is ever mine, and it falls to me to redeem it and myself. This is incoherent with the plot so far. And in that instant, cradling my children's heads in my palms. So, like, did he kill his children first or after? Like, you gotta pick one. Vacuum eviscerator, so that's lovely.
But why did you take my children?
Mandus, of all the blood we have spilled together, the first drops fell from your hands alone.
Then I am damned for a philosopher, and everything is lost.
Or the notes we're seeing are from an untrustworthy narrator. Amanda's processing company, organ distribution tanks, maintenance access. Oh, that's not good. Whoop. Ow. Oh, so this room is for nothing. Okay, then. It's a little strange, but alright. I do like how these doors feel. I don't know why you'd have these doors, though. Like, what is... This is such a strange building. I guess maybe to contain radiation, perhaps? Excuse me. No, not right there. Not right there. Gotcha. Haha. Spawning him right next to the button. That was such a... Alright. Ooh, I love how that lighting looks. That's cool. Okay. That doesn't open. That opens. Excuse me. I'd rather not. Hey, P.S. How's Doomer Politics Part 4 going? It's going. It'll be done soon enough. I've been really sick the last couple of days, so that's put a damper on things. Even now, like, I'm fading pretty fast, so I don't think we're going to go that much longer once this is done. Although somebody recommended a video that explains the plot of this, that would be kind of interesting to go through.
Only to save you.
Pick that up.
Only to spare you.
5.
I would have given my soul to spare you this world and its loam.
See, it's trying to be so purple with the prose, right? Like so fancy. Loam. Loam doesn't refer to soil. Loam refers to top-grade garden soil. It's a deliberate mixture of soil that you use for planting things.
Oh, my children. My children. What have I done? What have I become? I will put it right, my darlings. All of my wrongs will be righted. All of my sins washed clean.
It's trying so hard to sound writerly. Well, I think the writing isn't bad, and the delivery is good. It's just that, you know, it's trying to do stuff that the author just might not
I love
have.
you, my darlings, and I am sorry. I am sorry for all I have done. I simply loved you all too much for this world.
This is now a machine for bears. Memories, they surface like bloated bodies rising in the scum of the Thames. I looked at them covered in the blood of their dead mother, little piglets squalling in their swaddling, and my heart at once was filled with a great love and a consuming hate I could never have imagined. At that point did my soul split, creating him? Was this the egg of my soul, the moment the great clock began to tick? Is the only path to redemption to join us together again, to make myself whole, to close the great circle and take that madman into my heart once more, and forgive him and myself as well? So this is interesting. So now he says, I looked at them covered in the blood of their dead mother. So this goes all the way back to when his twins were born. So I don't get what's going on here. Is the egg metaphorical? Like, is there really an orb going on? Is this like a big Freudian thing? And there's some Jordan Peterson embrace your shadow stuff going on.
Mandus, put aside your misguided crusade and let me save them. You may hate me, Mandus, but I have seen the future, your 20th century, and let me tell you this, a far greater slaughter awaits you there. I seek to save the world by blood now, before millions fall beneath history, pushed under by blade, bullet, and gas.
Unless there's alternate reality stuff going on here. If somehow the experiment that Manus is doing with the orb... excuse me. Oh, shoot, I'm blind. What the hell? Run, ow. That was frustrating. Oh, come on. Really? Where am I supposed to go? Or would you not? That is processing company Electrogravitic Suppression South Tower. Alright. I guess we're here now. Yeah, I wonder if there's some dimension hopping going on here. And that explains the inconsistencies in the story. This might actually be kind of clever, it's just that the writing is so... That really should be moving if it's going to be beating. The writing, like, the idea is clever, it's just it's not really told to you that well. You have to do a lot of digging. But I think that would be interesting. I think perhaps the, there's like a dimensional rift going on, something like in Dark Souls, I guess. I actually looked up the writer for this after the last stream. He was a game studies academic, lecturer, and researcher. It made me more disappointed in the mechanics side of this game. I mean, like, the mechanics are fine. The issue is that they put the label amnesia on it. Like, if they wanted, like, a not as scary, milder horror that just wasn't amnesia, that'd be okay. That'd be totally fine. But because they called it amnesia, you expect it to either at least deliver what amnesia delivered, or preferably to actually evolve the form a little bit and do something better. And they didn't do that. It just did something different, and it's fine by itself. Like, if this wasn't called amnesia, I wouldn't care.
I have you now, creature.
I have you now.
Will destroy you.
Stop him! Stop him! Kill him!
It is over. It is time to end this madness.
So I guess I go down the ladder again. No, can't go down. Ow. Yeah, like from a gameplay perspective, the game is fine. It even has some tense moments. The problem is a lot of them, for me when I was playing, a lot of the tenseness was basically stolen from the reputation of the first Amnesia game. Because I played that one, and that was really scary and tense and subtle. And so I assumed that they were doing the same thing in the environments of this game, but I guess they weren't. What did you miss? We're at the very end of the game, dude. You missed the whole thing. But we're going to look into some lore stuff afterwards. So.
Listen to your heart. You know you are with me. You created me to save the world. I am your friend.
I still don't know who this is. So, here's my theory. I think the goal was to use the orb, to power the orb with vitae extracted from human suffering, using the pigmen, of course, to, like, extract that vitae, to create some kind of... to somehow manipulate the fabric of reality to change the future, to make the future no longer set in stone. Sort of like what Dornkirk tries to do in Escaflowne, where he tries to manipulate luck as a cosmic force. And in addition to that, because Mandas has a mechanistic view of the soul, he probably also has the idea of transplanting, using the orb, transplanting his twin souls into new bodies. And that's how he can bring them back, or save them, or whatever. And I don't think this is the machine, because I think the machine is just the orb. I think this might be one of those. And it's not Mandas, because we've seen pictures of Mandas, and he has a beard. Also, I'm right here. So I think this might actually be an attempt to either put his children's souls into a human body, or an attempt by the orb to hijack that project and put itself into a human body. Something like that.
Mandas, please, I am no more evil than you. We sought the same thing, to save humanity, ridding them of their painful, stupid, pointless lives.
By the way, I finished a book today called The Martial Ethic of Early Modern Germany.
Think about what you are doing for your children, Mandas.
Do not speak of my children, monster.
I did not kill your children, Mandas. You sacrificed them on the temple steps, knowing what the coming century would do to them. Your sons will drown, lungs full of mud and shrapnel, on the banks of the Somme. You wanted to save them from the horror to come. That is the vision we shared. Everything we have built to avert this coming nightmare. You and I are one. We are the same. Our souls are entangled. We deserve to make them free.
As I was saying, by the way, I finished a book today called The Martial Ethic of Early Modern Germany. It's a good read, especially if you're interested in the relationship between violence and politics. I'll give that a look. That sounds interesting. So the whole point of the machine is to make a man immortal? No, the whole point of the machine is to offset the course of history to prevent the Second World War by using a weird lore-specific mechanism. Yeah, so I wonder, are those ghosts or are those, like, interdimensional apparitions? Is there a difference? So no, the whole point of the machine is not to make a man immortal, it's to change the course of history by using the dimensional ripping powers of human suffering, apparently.
I
have stood knee-deep in mud and bone, and filled my lungs with mustard gas. I have seen 2 brothers fall. I have lain with holy wars and copulated with the autumnal fallout. I have dug trenches for the refugees. I have murdered dissidents where the ground never thaws, and starved the masses into pain. A child's shadow burnt into the brickwork. A house of skulls in the jungle. The innocent Manders trod and bled and gassed and starved and beaten and murdered and enslaved. This is your coming century. They will eat the Manders. They will make pigs of you all, and they will bury their snouts into your ribs, and they will eat your hearts.
Two orbs. Looks like 2 fractured pieces of the orb. I wonder if there's intended significance to the fact that children are twins. Like, I wonder if the twins aren't really twins.
I am begging you. You made me. You are my creator, my father. You cannot destroy me.
Interesting. So, the orb is split. What if the twins are the machine? Like, they're just a phantasm.
Please, Manders, no. For your children.
Yeah, and there's children's toys everywhere. So I wonder if he ever actually had children. I wonder if, when he interacted with the orb, or broke the orb or something, that caused a split in his personality. And one of them was itself divided into the broken pieces of the orb. And when he's talking about smashing their skulls, he actually just smashed the orb when he saw that vision. And that might explain the sort of the disjunction between him wanting to be sort of philanthropic and like saving the poor, and wanting to change the course of the future by exploiting the poor to extract the vitae from their suffering. And the orb pieces remain intact. Okay, here's my theory.
I lay there
Ah!
and watched the god I had created die. At the end, when we were cold as the stone we had hewn his body from, when the lights were nearly all extinguished, we heard, in the silent distance, the man-pigs singing to one another. Then, as the last lights were gone, and we lay together in the deep, they drifted away, and all was silent. Such a silence I have never known. And as the dust settled on my open eyes, and we lay together embraced forever, I heard, miles above us, the sounds of the city turning over in its sleep. A church bell ringing out. And in that moment, the new century was born.
All right. So here's what I think happened. The twins, the machine was actually divided into two. When Mandus interacted with the orb, he had a vision of the future, and maybe his suffering or something caused the orbs to activate and rip a piece of his personality out. Or maybe he is represented by one half of the orb. I don't... See, because they put all those children's toys around that sort of throne room area where the orbs are. And it seems like... the children are being identified with the consciousness of the machine. So... maybe it's just so bloody confusing. Like, there's so many interesting ways you could take this, but it's told to you in such a convoluted way. These are the musicians what did make this soundtrack. That's fine. Fine painterly visions of the machine were duly supplied by Billings. That's kind of cool. The end, that was it. Well, that was a machine for pigs. Yeah, so... okay. So, I think the machine wasn't some... I think the children apparitions that we saw, I don't think they were ghosts of his dead children. I think they were representations of perhaps the part of himself that was implanted in the orb. And there were two pieces of the orb, so maybe they seem to they seem to indicate there's split personalities going on between himself and the machine. So maybe what he had to do was to make the machine benign by inserting the rest of his mind into the broken piece of the orb, and then these two twins put together now offset the brutal future that he would have performed in order to offset the actual future that we have. And so he basically neutered or nullified the orbs, the machine's will, and so now we're just committed to the timeline that we're in now. I think that's sort of what happened, if that made any sense at all. But, yeah, that was a machine for pigs. I'm deeply confused. I've played this like 5 times and I'm still confused. The writing is okay in parts and abysmal in others. Just ridiculously pretentious. The environments are cool. But it's a wasted setting because, like, what would be cool about it is if it was like a Castlevania type, or like an Amnesia 1 type thing, where you're exploring this giant machine, this giant mechanism that has some kind of actual, like, coherent function, and you discover its function as you actually, like, play through it, but that doesn't really happen. Instead, you're kind of, like, zapped to different parts, to different rooms. You just solve completely uncontextual puzzles. They all often involve just pressing switches. You don't really know what any of these things do, except apparently the buttons you're pressing break the machine down. It's just kind of silly. But yeah, that was that. There was a video somebody recommended under the last one that actually explained that. I'm going to see if I can find it quickly, and we'll go through it. All right, let's see this. Oh, I thought somebody had recommended a video. Oh, maybe not. Oh, here we go. Here we go, I think. Oh, where is it? Come on. Well, I can't find it. Oh, here we go. Jacob Geller. Okay, let's look this up. I think I found it. Apparently there's a video by a Jacob Geller that tries to explain a machine for pigs. Jacob Geller. Machine for pigs. Excuse me. Oh, it looks like this is it. Okay, brilliant. So let's bring that up. Cool. Okay. Let me know how the audio is.
I get freaked out by a lot of stuff these days. You know, the world generally, entropy, the prospect of going outside. Sometimes I just need a mental reset button, something to lower my heart rate and kind of bring me back to zero, a systems diagnostic check. And the thing is, I actually have that button. Watch, I'll show you. It's like entering a decompression chamber. Everything stressful is, if temporarily, blown out of my brain and replaced with this oozing synth. In an article for Laced Records, Tom Squofelt said it sounded a bit like whale songs, and it does. It's simultaneously mournful and reassuring, a little haunted, but not malevolent. It feels safe. This feeling is appropriate, as many of you probably already know. The track is called Serenity. It's by composer Misao Senbongi, and it's from Resident Evil 4, one of the most successful and influential horror games of all time. Also, it has by far the most suplexes per minute of any horror game in modern memory. Just saying. Just saying. Serenity is actually a part of a grand Resident Evil tradition, the save room. Scrounging ammo, dodging zombies, trying to fit a key and a spark plug and a grenade launcher in your inventory at the same time, it's all incredibly stressful stuff. And that's why the games, since the very first one, have given you a respite in the save room. Take a breath, save your game, get everything organized before you run outside again. And since the very first Resident Evil, these rooms kinda had a feeling like the eye of a hurricane. You aren't safe permanently. At some point soon, you're going to have to brave the outside again, full of undead and puzzles and not nearly enough shotgun ammo. But for a few precious seconds, you're safe. This continued throughout the series. Even if a game didn't have a traditional save room, it had something like a save theme. It speaks to a core design ethos. It can't be full-on horror all of the time. You need to give players a minute to rest.
No, you don't, and that's why we have Alien Isolation.
And that brings us to Resident Evil 4, also known as Baby's first Resident Evil. Now, I know that people say this game isn't traditional horror, and it's not as scary as your fixed camera, limited ink roll spooks, but when I played this as a recently bar mitzvahed boy, I was tense. The opening fight in the village has the goal of pushing you to your absolute limit, and it wildly succeeds after the near misses and last second headshots, and I came out of this fight literally trembling. Again, I was 13. Resident Evil 4 may not be the lurking dread kind of scary, but it is incredibly good at making you feel on edge, like you're just one missed shot away from certain death. On my umpteenth playthrough, I can game the systems and feel totally empowered, but on my first, I found the flow of combat precarious, verging on exhausting. On my umpteenth playthrough, I know which areas have enemies and which areas don't. I know when I need to be on guard. On my first, though, no security. I had no idea where Ganados might pop up, who might be a potential threat. Lakes aren't safe, lamps aren't safe, nothing is. This all culminates in a fight against El Gigante, a brute who's likely to home run you right into the wall with a tree trunk if you aren't careful. Again, it's not keep me up at night scary, but it is unbelievably intense. And so to finish that fight and then walk down these stairs onto this secluded underground dock and hear this? It's a genuinely unforgettable moment for me. It communicates through those synthy wail cries actual safety. Sure, you're in the eye of the storm, but nothing's gonna hurt you here. I adore this series tradition. One of my favorite parts is how the theme grows and changes over the games, from the simple synths of the first couple to the endless atmosphere of 4, to how the originals are changed and updated in the remakes, all the way to Resident Evil 7, which somehow sounds like a decaying acoustic deconstruction of the first. It's brilliant. I also find it fascinating that the contrast to horror isn't happy either, isn't bright and bouncy. Happy music is just distorted by the scares. Instead, it's just a return to something like neutral, the thing presumably most needed by the characters in these dramatic situations, and the thing most needed by a 13-year-old,
So this is kind of an interesting thing to compare it to. So in A Machine for Pigs, one of the things that really frustrated me is that every moment feels so scripted and so cinematic that you never feel like you're actually in a game where something chaotic can take place. It's always waffling between sort of emotional cutscene and sinister cutscene, and that's about it. So at no point in the game are you actually convinced that a creature could pop out randomly, that you may have miscalculated where the gatherers are hiding or the monsters are hiding. Instead, it's always just you've now entered into a scene where there is a monster, and you know that the progression is going to be cinematic. So you never think of it as like a thing you have to outsmart. It's just a role you have to play. So the entire game, in effect, is the safe room, which eliminates the horror aspect, which is frustrating. There are like brief moments where you're surprised, like that one scene, that one part where you're underground in the machine. You have to get the 2 vials of fluid to make the compound X to break the lock. Like, there was genuine tension in that part. I remember the first time I played it, that was actually super intense. And I even got like surprised and a little bit stressed out playing it on here. But the rest of the game is just, it's like a movie.
Man. Resident Evil isn't the only series that's discovered this either. And here's where things get cool, because horror games in general have some of the most strangely beautiful tracks I've heard in gaming. Is it because these games are just really good? Well, yeah. But I think there's a through line here, something deeper than just non-scary music makes the scary stuff more scary. There's this kind of longing present in all these tracks, a desire to return to something that maybe hasn't even ever existed. Look, okay, this is all getting very poetic very fast, so let me put my money where my mouth is, and by money I mean Foggy Nightmareville, because it's time to talk about Silent Hill. I mean, have we ever been spoiled for choice more than looking for beautiful music in Silent Hill games? There's Promise and its reprise, everyone's favorite, just sad piano that's a little too intricate to allow a full descent into mourning. There's the unsettlingly motivated Rain of Brass Petals, a song that doesn't even appear in Silent Hill 3, but is on the soundtrack.
I like that line. It's too intricate to allow you to fully descend into mourning. That's interesting. That's an interesting observation. There's a kind of complexity, like it almost commits you to a different narrative path that's not simply a dead end. That's interesting.
Track, and more importantly, feels like it understands the anxieties of these characters perfectly. There's the incredible Not Tomorrow, which has the distinction of being quietly melancholy, maybe tinged with hopefulness, while playing during a scene of true horror. Silent Hill's music frequently makes the choice to unnerve rather than outright terrify. They undercut themselves to achieve a greater atmosphere, a choice I couldn't respect more. And a choice I've already talked about at length. Whoops! But my favorite is what Not Tomorrow morphs into in the next game, Silent Hill 2's Theme of Laura.
I hate this.
It still blows my mind that this song is from a horror game at all. It is so many things. My friend Henry noted that it almost feels like two tracks layered on top of each other. This acoustic bass of guitar and
no,
strings
Bubba Boy, I haven't played
drowning
Silent
in
Hill.
the ambience that defines the rest of the game's sound. But rather than these styles conflicting, they accentuate each other. Just like the bizarre combination of the original Not Tomorrow and the grotesquerie it scores. It gets the Silent Hill sound. It walks that tightrope so well. It's definitely got spooky vibes, but it also just rocks, and not in the way where it seems like it's trying to make the game feel badass, because that almost never works. Just in the way where this is like a song that I would actually listen to. That longing feeling though, the one I mentioned earlier, that's here in spades. This is probably not an experience shared by every age group, but the general vibe of this song, the alternative bordering on emo, just hit this really specific musical memory for me.
I don't like it.
Music analyzer extraordinaire, Polyphon, I hit the nail on the head.
It feels like something that would play at my high school dance.
Doesn't it feel like that's exactly the vibe James is clinging to here? One of the false and faded glory of high school dances, of that foggily remembered best night of our lives.
Silent Hill 4 is my first horror game. The original 4 of the series are very good. I've heard they're very good. I just don't like the attempt to like, I don't know. Like it just seems like a sophomoric representation of a visual representation of depression. It just doesn't do anything for me aesthetically. Like I'm not interested in Silent Hill.
This song, like the entire town, is a surprise punch of nostalgia. It's no surprise that Akira Yamaoka scored essentially every Silent Hill game. He gets this series. he has helped define its essence.
Also, correct me, I feel like the Silent Hill games, like, there's a way in which this is all, like, unreal, right? Like, it seems to sort of indicate that the world is a projection of the main character's mind or something like that. I hate that. I hate that because there's no room for actual fascination, because the end revelation is, it was all in your head. This is just a representation of your depression or your whatever. Someone correct me, please. I just, for whatever reason, I've never, well, not for whatever reason, for that reason, I've never had any particular interest in Silent Hill. Resident Evil, by contrast, I have a fascination with, or I used to before I realized how kind of, like, cheesy and unrestrained it was. There's no rules to make discoveries interesting. But, you know, there was depth there as opposed to just kind of flipping a switch to it was all in your head, you know? That's only for the second one? Okay, good to know. So tell me about the setting. Like, is it an actual place? Or is it just...
Music brings those subtextual feelings to the surface. It's why I use it in every minute of my videos, and it's certainly not unique to one genre, but it has a special power in...
Yes, it's somewhat of an in-between world that manifests certain psychic traumas. Ugh, I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. That's like, what's that show called? I don't like that. See, here's an example of something that would work sort of that way. Like 1408 is a really good, or Room 1408 is a really good horror movie. I haven't read the novella, so I can't tell you if that's good. But it's really good, and it has something similar in that the room has some kind of consciousness, or something maybe that we can only think of as a consciousness, that is tormenting the occupant with visions of his own past trauma, but it's weaponizing them against him. It's not simply like mindlessly reflecting the interior life of the character. These are tools that it uses to communicate, and that's interesting. If it was just though he goes into this like purgatory room and he just experiences his past trauma in like a weird, strained, metaphorical form, I don't like that. That's lame.
Horror. Maybe because our emotions are already so heightened. Maybe because the simple act of being afraid inherently connects us to that world better. Fearing something means that even for a couple minutes, that thing has power over you. And while some horror uses that power to just, keep scaring you, it can also be leveraged in a different direction, using that built-in empathy to subvert those spooks into something even more compelling. The game Amnesia: The Dark Descent is familiar to most gaming folks. The horror game that popularized the no fighting, only hiding first-person gameplay, the scariest game ever, the game that launched 1,000 screaming Let's Players. A lot of people have also heard of the sequel. After all, it has one of history's great names. Amnesia, a machine for
Here
pigs.
we go, finally.
But I rarely, if ever, hear this game actually talked about. There are vanishingly few monster chases in the game, it doesn't have nearly the clickbait ability of the first, and it's also just really weird. I mean, the subtitle is A.
Do you see this, by the way, this scene here? Where he's hiding and there's like a pig,
Just
the shadow of a pig
really
coming through?
Weird?
This is one of the reasons why people were so mad about the end product. It's not because the game itself is bad, it's because it advertised itself as being like the first Amnesia, where you were actually exploring an environment and hiding. Like there's an active and chaotic danger that you can't always predict. That's not what happened, though. Every single encounter is cinematic, or is simply a very simplistic case of a creature appears and just goes on a patrol. And it's a very easy patrol to avoid. Even in Alien Isolation, it's constantly there, but it's not just like a patrol you have to avoid. You don't know where it is, and it looks for you. In Amnesia: The Dark Descent, the creatures look for you. And the environments are sprawling, and they're sprawling and self-contained and circuitous. So there are things on some part of the map walking around that you can't see, and you know that they're there, or at the very least the game convinces you that they're there, and you have to avoid them. And that's where the tension comes from. When you know that the encounters are just going to be a chase that's going to end at the end of a linear path, there's no tension anymore. It's just like a, it's like any platform puzzle.
I mean, the subtitle is A Machine for Pigs. It does not make itself easy to parse. The game takes place at the very end of 1899. You play as Oswald Mandus, a dude who wakes up in a cage and has, wait for it, amnesia. As you wander around your spooky house that periodically makes loud noises, Oswald determines that his children are stuck in the bowels of his house, and he has to descend into the depths to find them. The machine for pigs part comes into play as our protagonist discovers he's got a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on. Oswald, good old Ozzy, reliably amnesiated, gradually figures out what's going on with his other half, Mandus. The dude, stick with me here, took a trip to Mexico, plundered an old temple, and found a stone egg. That stone egg showed him a vision of the future so unbearably horrifying that Mandus went full doomer, plunging all his resources into a machine that would basically kill all of humanity because complete annihilation would be more merciful than the 20th century. Also, he killed his own children as a sacrifice to the machine, and because it would be kinder than them dying in World War I.
See, I think that's an easy interpretation, but I think that the authors were weighing too much into symbolism, and it got kind of convoluted and messed up. I don't think that after playing through this time, I don't think the children were real. I think the children were a representation of the relationship between Mandus and the machine. And at the end, there are even like notes that talk about how he has to reabsorb or forgive or like make peace with his other half. And I think what happens is he was split between like the cruel part of himself that just has like a hatred for the world and wants to destroy everything, and the good part of himself that you're using. And you defeat the machine by integrating yourself. And that's represented by the twins, right? So I think that's what's going on. And he even indicates it's not early, but in one of the notes that we looked at in this run, that his soul split when he saw his children coming, like covered in his dead wife's blood, implying that this was just when they were born. So if we can interpret that to mean, or we could interpret that to mean, that the birth of the twins coincides with the splitting of Mandus' soul. And if the splitting of Mandus' soul was caused by an interaction with the orb, that means that the twins were not like not fully grown, but they weren't like walking around as like adolescents or younger children at the time that took place. So I think the twins represent the splitting of Mandus' soul. And the project that him and his other half embarked on had the effect of effectively ripping out their hearts for the sake of staving off some horrible future or what have you. And I think the technical process wasn't just to annihilate people so they didn't have to feel pain, because the gatherers are used specifically to increase pain to extract vitae. And we even see in the destruction of the city, the pigs are tearing people limb from limb. This isn't like the plan isn't to like build like poison gas around the city and euthanize everybody. The plan is to send out man pigs to grab people, torture them, and bleed them to death to power the orb and the machine. So I think that they were using the machine and the vitae, using the orb and the vitae to alter the course of the future through like a dimensional, like maybe putting the entire world through a portal or something like that. Because we already know that the vitae is used primarily not primarily, but also to power like teleportation devices. That's what Brennenberg is trying to do in Amnesia 1. That's what you do with the Traveler's Locket in Amnesia Rebirth. So I think that's what happened. Yeah, okay. And maybe the body that we see in the machine at the end, in that tank, that's representative of the part of his personality that's in one orb, one half of the orb. And then you sit in that machine and have like all of the devices go into you, and you occupy the other half. I think that's what happened. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Sort of.
Woof. Also, the machine turns people into pigs. Humans are the pigs, but also pigs are the pigs. That's the name. A machine for pigs is what Mandus creates, but also the world is a machine for pigs. We are all pigs.
Which makes sense if this is all taking place in Mandus's mind. And this is like... the whole game is sort of... you deliriously reintegrating yourself with your other half that's been split, and that's what, you know, neutralizes these evil designs that were directly the product of that split mind.
It is a weird, fascinating game, one that forgoes many of the horror game mainstays that its own predecessor helped create. In case you didn't get this from the paragraph about the guy killing his kids because of World War I, it's a game about psychological horror, and that chases you through the halls far more often than, like, big pig dudes. Oh, but there's one thing I didn't mention, and that's that this game is scored by Jessica freaking Curry. For those who don't know, Jessica Curry was a longtime co-head of the studio The Chinese Room, and is basically a rock star of video game composition. Dear Esther's remarkable score was all her work, and she both directed and composed Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which I can't play here because I'll get demonetized, but trust me when I say it is maybe the most beautiful score to a game ever written, ever. It's on Spotify. Go listen to it, please.
I do want to play that, although apparently it has like terrible optimization issues, so I may not be able to.
But in between those two games, she also wrote the score for A Machine for Pigs, and did not miss the opportunity to make some truly bone-chilling sounds. But because she's Jessica Curry, it also has this. This song, titled Mandus, plays over the final section of the game, as you find the core of the giant machine you've been trekking through over the last several hours. A voice pleads with you not to turn off the machine, tries to express how awful the coming century will be, and now it's not your Jekyll or your Hyde, it's the machine itself, sentient enough to be utterly horrified by the future.
A house of skulls in the jungle. The innocent Mandus, trod and bled and gassed and starved and beaten and murdered and enslaved.
Could it be both? Children were really sacrificed, but the ghosts were this duality? Maybe, except he seems to link the biographical detail of his children being born with the splitting of his soul. Although I suppose it's possible that he was stricken with horror and this made him sensitive to the vision of the future that he gets in Mexico when his children were born, and then his soul splits into the horrified part and the part that loves his children. It's possible. I mean, like, again, I think so much of this is underdetermined, and it's like the writing is really like pretentious and kind of sloppy. Like the author didn't really understand or hadn't really integrated the use of the words that he used fully when he was writing. So it's difficult sometimes to tell if you're supposed to parse things out in a certain way, or if you're just being misled by the contorted way in which it's been written.
This is your coming century. They will eat the Mandus. They will make pigs of you all.
And given the content of this monologue, it seems like the song should be extraordinarily grim. Dead kids, mustard gas, nuclear bombs. But instead you have this delicate series of broken chords, giving way to strings and a vocal track that both just race up and down, faster and faster, almost like the industrialization Mandus and the machine have been treading.
I believe Jessica Curry is actually the vocal for that as well. Very, very talented. Actually, I do want to play Dear Esther on this sometime just because the environment is gorgeous. just as pretentious as this one, but it works a bit better.
And it's not victorious. It's not a defeat of the prophecy. Everything they've seen in the 20th century does come to pass, but it's not horror either. It's this sense of sheer inevitability. And it's...
See, look at the bottom corner here. There's blocks, right? The children's toys we've seen throughout the whole world are right here, right where you integrate with the machine. That, I think, tells you that you are where the twins are, which is what makes me think that you are one of the twins and the machine is one of the twins.
It's an incredibly difficult line to walk tone-wise. How do you sell a finale in which the character's ultimate choice is to ensure the continuation of the world wars and mass starvation and all of the other cruelty humans are capable of, but by doing so also ensuring humanity? What does that sound like? But it's almost silly to ask these questions, because we know what it sounds like. Because Jessica Curry nailed it, as she always does. We have Mandus, as well as the following song, The New Century, to beckon us into the dark. At this point, you might just be thinking, great, Jacob.
Anyways, we get the idea. Yeah, so I had the interpretation that Jacob had for a little while the first time I played it, or the first few times I played it, but I think on this run where I'm actually paying a lot more attention to the documents, because I don't typically reread documents that I find boring on a second or third run of a game that I've already played. I think that the plot is a bit even more convoluted, and I think there's a lot of like identity stuff going on, where we don't actually know for certain who the machine is, or who Mandus is, or who the twins are, and I think that that's open to interpretation, and my interpretation is that the twins are a representation not of actual children that you killed in the past. I think they're a representation of the split soul between you and the machine. I think at the end what happens is you integrate yourself back with the machine and perhaps even enter into the orb, or are plugged into the orb, so that the mind of the machine is now a combination again of the two parts of Oswald Mandus' soul. I don't think that Mandus and Oswald are separate people. I think that Oswald Mandus is just the name of you, and then the machine is just the other part. And indeed, Oswald characterizes in a lot of these notes, he characterizes the soul as being something clockwork, right? Sort of like a Hobbesian thing. So I think the juxtaposition is between Oswald Mandus with like all of his human empathy and things like that, and the machine, which is this internally constructed cruelty that then got separated from him by his interaction with the orb, if that makes sense. Have I played Life is Strange? No, but Jalma has, and Jalma says it's very good. Anyways, we'll call it here. I'm feeling deathly ill, so I need to rest and not die so I can do more video essays. Thanks everybody for joining me. This has been A Machine for Pigs. We will be continuing with the marathon at some point in the near future. We will be playing Soma. So look forward to that at some point in the near future. And after Soma, we'll be doing... I haven't decided. I might try to do Amnesia Rebirth, although it runs kind of iffily on my computer. Or I might just go straight ahead into Alien Isolation, because that one is very long. That one's like a... That's on a first run like a 30-hour game. I think you can beat it in like 12 hours if you really push. But, yeah. Anyways. Again, thank you everybody, and take care. Ciao.